And, of course, during the Middle Ages, the Priory of Sion was associated with Mount Sion. That is where their name comes from, and that is Mount Hermon, not Mount Zion in Jerusalem. The protocols of the learned elders of Zion are signed by the representatives of Sion, S-I-O-N, of the 33rd degree. Now, if that isn't a clear reference to Mount Hermon, I don't know what is. You've got Sion with an S and the 33rd degree there. So that's a cryptic reference to Mount Hermon.
And then this is why this is a controversial issue. That's part of why I didn't put up the whole thing from last week, is because I had to relook up. They have the protocols. I think it was protocol 3.4 and then 12.7 or something, talking about pamphleteers, which we could fit in, And then that's where it gets sketchy, is that how much do they really control? I think it's in protocol 12 is that they'll own all printing presses, right? And then how can we print flyers and stuff?
What are they going to do? Throw the printing presses in the Lake Ontario? Maybe that's what they'll do, just like they did years ago.
Yeah. Right, to William I. Mackenzie Colonial Advocate paper.
Yeah, exactly.
But the one is that they send out unscrupulous pamphleteers out on the streets to put out false messages and stuff. And then this is where they could try to use the protocols against us, start trying to say that we're in on it. And that's the danger of the protocols, is that it's not just against the Jewish race or the Jewish religion or whatever, but it's against, pretty much anyone can be exposed with it. Yeah,
exactly. So they might even exploit our table and stuff like that and say this is not good stuff to put out. So that could shut our table down. We don't want that. No way. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's where it's an important document to research. And you shouldn't just go off on some short description about it. You should actually read it, because it's only about 26 protocols or something. It's not that long.
Yeah, so it should take a couple hours to read through it and try to comprehend what's going on. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a good thing to look into. Yeah, better.
Yeah, and just try to think of the world 100 years ago when they say they released it, and then see if it's changed or if you think it's come true when you think about what's going on now, 2012.
Yeah. Well, a lot of things that happened over 100 years ago are actually coming true today. So, yeah, it's something we should look into a little bit more and get more information out. Yeah.
Now it's going to turn atheist against Muslim, against Christian, against Jew, what have you. And it's all outlined here. Protocols of Zion.
The Protocols of Elders of Zion. Okay, this is the globalist Bible.
Yeah.
This is why they fight so much against this. And the biggest thing they always say is that it's a forge.
Yeah, I know. The biggest thing, every website goes, it's a forgery, yet you look at what they said 100 years ago and what's going on now, it's hand in glove.
They're the ones that's really the big powerful.
And I'm not anti-Semite because I have a Jesus saves, and last time I checked, Jesus was a Jew, so I'm not anti-Semite. Nice try.
The Zionists, the Priory of Zion, they are named after Mount Zion, which is Mount Hermon. This is where they want to set up the temple for the Antichrist and the worship of the Antichrist and the worship of Lucifer. And as I go on, I'm going to explain why. I'm going to go into the history of Mount Zion, Mount Hermon. Deuteronomy 4:48 identifies Mount Hermon as Mount Zion. Mount Zion, S-I-O-N, which is Hermon. And then Isaiah 33, verse 20, identifies the other Mount Zion. Look upon Zion with a Z, the city of our solemnities. Thine eyes shall see Jerusalem. So these two verses make it clear that these are two different mountains entirely. And Mount Hermon, Hermon means sacred. And the Encyclopedia Judaica states the name Hermon is derived from the root HRM, meaning sacred. And like most high mountains, it was thought to be the residence of a god, whose name, Baal Hermon, also served as the name of the mountain itself. So this was the residence of Baal Hermon. And, of course, Baal is Lucifer. That Sion is not Zion in Jerusalem, but Mount Hermon in the Canaanite territory of Dan.
All right, Barbara. All right, we'll start on your report there on Mount Hermon, and I guess then you will use that to go into the guys that came down on Mount Hermon.
Yes, I do want to talk about that because, the occult views Mount Hermon as the original paradise, and this is, of course, not true. Mount Hermon was not the location of paradise. The Garden of Eden was in Mesopotamia, which is Chaldea. So, but they misrepresent Mount Hermon throughout all of their books and literature. So you have to know the truth about Mount Hermon, and that's what I want to do today. Okay, in Genesis 6, verses 1 to 3, the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. The Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for he is also flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown.